Sage Wanderer here, coming at you from my cabin down by the creek. So, let's talk about Russia's new secret weapon that they just unveiled. Dun dun dun! Well, it wasn't so secret to me because I knew about it a long time ago. But before we get started on that, I want to thank all of you who support this channel with your kind financial gifts. If it wasn't for your contributions to keep this channel on the air, it would cease to exist. So thank you so much for keeping me on the air for 8 years now. And if you'd like to become a financial supporter, because this channel is funded exclusively by the viewers, if you would like to contribute, you can find links in the description below to my Cash App, my PayPal, and to my post office box. So let's talk about Russia's new secret weapon. Well, if you're a fan of the channel, you know that I have been talking about this secret weapon that's not so secret for years. And most people thought I was crazy. They're like, that's so far-fetched. Russia doesn't have this kind of weaponry. And other attitudes are, well, we have secret weapons too. Well, the secret weapon that Russia just unveiled is very devastating. And if you watch the channel, you know that it kind of lines up with prophecy and from various sources in Christian prophecy and in the prophecies of Nostradamus and other seers down through time, that the United States could suffer catastrophic effects of a tsunami, not a natural event, but one created by a super secret weapon. So I've talked about the tsunami subs on this channel in previous, over the years. And I don't know how long ago I became aware of this secret weapon. And if I'm aware of it, of course, the government knows about it. Donald Trump knows about it. And there has been this frustration with both supporters and opponents of President Trump that he isn't tough enough with Putin, that he isn't putting up a strong enough front, that we should be more aggressive in how we deal with Russia. And I have always said it's because Russia has superior weaponry that we do not possess. And we are fully aware of this. So you don't pick fights with guys who have bigger guns than you. You don't pick fights with guys who have who know something you don't know, right? You handle them more cautiously. You don't wade in. You know, the Bible tells us that fools rush in where angels fear to tread. And so it would be foolish, knowing what we know about Russian armaments, to handle them in any kind of aggressive way. So if Trump is giving Putin a lot of leeway, if Trump is trying to be as strong as he can be but appears to be weak, it's because he's known something that we don't know. But now the whole world knows. So the weapon in question I've always called tsunami subs or tsunami torpedoes. And the Russian press just released an animated picture of what those weapons are capable of, right? They show a standard torpedo coming from a standard looking cartoonish submarine. And they show how it can be used to destroy our fleet, but how it could also be steered into a city on the coastline and cause a nuclear explosion that creates a tsunami wave that is drenched in radioactive waste that is 1,600 feet tall. That's taller than most of the tallest buildings in the United States. And a tsunami of that size, 1,600 feet, would be devastating. It could wipe out the entire Houston area. It could wipe out the entire LA basin. It could wipe out New York City in a single move. And not only that, because of the way the weapon works, because it works underwater, because it's guided right up to the coastline and then exploded, it would be very difficult for us to be 100% certain we were dealing with an attack. Right? There would be a lag in our response. And so this may be the perfect weapon to use as leverage against the United States. And this is what Putin has been doing behind the scenes because, we know he's got it. They know they've got it. But now the whole world knows. Putin came out, announced this weapon. And there's parts of this weapon that they didn't share that I was aware of through my internal system of gathering information, right? I have connections. And so these weapons are able to not just be fired from a ship and then immediately explode. They can be launched from hundreds of miles offshore. They can travel silently because they have electric propulsion. And then they can be laid at a fault line to cause an earthquake, or laid at just the right spot in the bottom of the sea to generate these massive tsunamis. And then it can just be put in sleep mode, and it can sit there pretty much forever waiting for the signal to explode. And this is information that has not been released to the public. They did not mention that detail, but trust me, that's part of this weapon. That's why I call them mini subs. They're more than a torpedo. They're a programmable, guidable missile that can then lay in wait and be exploded remotely at any given moment. Now, I'm going to combine this with another phenomenon that's been occurring lately called a USO, right? And USO stands for uh, what is it? Unidentified submersed object. Okay, so it's like a UFO underwater. And recently, there's been a rash of sightings of some kind of craft under the surface of the water. This being reported by fishermen, leisure boaters, and I'm quite certain that the Coast Guard is very much aware of this phenomenon. It's also something that's not been talked about. It's been, poo-pooed away, right? Told, hey, there's nothing to see here. But these could be UFOs underwater. They could also be evidence of this secret weaponry. And I think that the tsunami torpedo is just a part of an arsenal of secret weapons that the Russians possess that are underwater and nearly undetectable by traditional detection means. And so the people that are reporting these USOs are seeing something underwater, some kind of underwater craft. One YouTuber speculated that these were cartel submarines smuggling in smuggling in drugs or people through that underwater method. He went so far as to say that the cartel makes these things out of school buses, and of course this is Sticks and Hammer 666 that I'm talking about. Okay, Sticks and Hammer is said that they make these things out of school buses and shipping containers, and they're crude submarines, and that's what people are seeing under the surface of the water. He also speculated maybe they're seeing whales, but I think the timing of all of this is very important. So we're at a crucial point in negotiations with Putin and Russia, and they released this information to the public just prior to a meeting, some crucial discussions about the war in Ukraine, trade, and other issues. And when the Russians released this information and made public this secret, no longer secret weapon, that Trump said, well, you know what, we can we're going to resume our testing. We got stuff too that needs to be tested, and we got stuff we can show you. And maybe that's a bluff, maybe that's the truth. I don't have information on our secret weapons. I just know that people in the know in the military have been aware for some time. And if I'm aware of it, I know that the president's aware of it, right? And so this is vindication. If you watch the channel, you know that I know things. I figure things out. Part of it's deductive reasoning. Part of it's inside information. Part of it's having my thumb on the pulse of what people talk about. Also, you can look at what our government likes to suppress, and that also gives them away. Sometimes it's not what people say; it's what they don't say that should be your red flag. So we've got this new weapon. And I predicted it, right? And I hope that you continue to watch the channel, because I have a track record now of telling you what's going to happen beforehand. Now, does this mean Russia is going to utilize this weapon? I see this weapon as leverage, that it kind of negates our first response capabilities. That, and the combination of the fact that Russia has quite a backlog, quite a arsenal of hypersonic ballistic missiles that can outpace our defenses, and they have the ability to surprise attack us now on many fronts. That if Russia wanted to, they could simply destroy us in a day. This is something that has been predicted by seers and prophets down through the ages. That the United States, in my opinion, is not really present in the last half of the end times book of Revelation as it is currently being interpreted, at least. And one explanation is the United States becomes a non-issue. And then we have the John Titor phenomenon. If you're not familiar with that, Google John Titor or look at the many, many videos that has his name in the title. But whether this person was a time traveler or simply an insider trying to tell us the future and the way he thought things would go. But in John Titor's scenario, uh, Russia and China decide to nuke the coastal cities of the United States and wipe them out in one day to put an end to the United States and its threat to their plans, and that it's effective. And of course, we fight back, and a nuclear war happens, but we take the brunt end of it. And America only survives in the middle of the country. That's one of the major reasons, understanding this concept, why I moved to the center of the country. I'm in the geographical dead center of the United States here in Oklahoma. There's literally a sign out on the freeway that says this is the geographical center of the continental United States. And so it makes any kind of attack from the coastline nearly impossible. So the people in the middle of our country would survive such an attack, but such an attack would cripple our nation to the point where we would never again be a superpower. And so, you know, I'm taking my victory lap, as bittersweet as it is, and telling you that I was aware of this secret weapon. This weapon has capabilities that they've not divulged, right? And I do believe that all along our coastlines, these have already been deployed and are waiting for a single punch of a button to be detonated. Imagine a 1,600-foot tall tidal wave infused with radioactive material coming at a city where it's higher than the tallest buildings. So Houston could easily be wiped out. New York, any coastal city, Seattle, San Francisco, San Diego, our Marine base there could absolutely be neutralized in a blink of an eye. Any of this would be absolutely devastating on the nation. Would we respond with nuclear response? Our submarines are going to always pay them back. But that's why I'm not sure whether Russia is ever going to actually use this weapon, but they are using it as leverage. They're using it to control the narrative, to control the negotiations that are happening with Donald Trump. So if Donald Trump has looked weak, it's because we are. I know you hate to hear that. There's a lot of America First out there. I'm standing in front of the flag right now, right? But a smart man recognizes the power of his enemy. He doesn't negate that. He doesn't ignore it. He takes it into consideration. And so if Trump looks like he's Putin's puppet, which is the leftists called him that, if our more radical right wing on our side thinks he's being too weak with Russia, there's a reason behind it. Donald Trump's a lot of things, but stupid is not one of them. He's cunning and he's shrewd, and he tries to look at the mile high view. So I do believe he's been handling Russia much more softly than maybe we would have in the past, that he's been very much not willing to get any deeper into this war in Ukraine. And a big reason for that is his awareness of these hypersonic missiles that can cross the ocean in minutes, these potentially already set in place, impossible to detect, remote controlled torpedoes that are probably already resting on the bottom of the ocean in silent mode, in invisible mode. And we don't really have any way of finding them right now. The detection devices that we use don't pick up something like that. And so our back is against the wall here. We're no longer in a position of power when dealing with Russia. And how Donald Trump proceeds is going to give us an indicator of, whether or not we actually have any way of countermeasuring this threat, neutralizing this threat, or minimizing the damage. If you took out every coastal city with the push of a button, which this weapon makes it very possible to do just that. Not only that, these same weapons can be silently placed at the bottom of the sea in the pathway of our fleet. I think if I was president right now, I would be pulling our fleet back to some more protected waters, reducing our footprint around the globe, stop projecting power into places like, I think the big fight's going to come over Venezuela. That we are preparing essentially an invasion of Venezuela. This is also information that's coming down through reliable channels, right? That equipment and ships and other support items are being quite publicly moved towards Venezuela. And, Donald Trump's got his eyes set on this goal of getting the oil one way or the other out of Venezuela. And the problem with that is Russia recently made a public statement that they were stepping up to ensure the sovereignty of the nation of Venezuela. So this fight could occur over Venezuela. And, when someone has the ability to destroy you in the blink of an eye, um, it's going to make you move differently. And if you don't move differently, you very well could get destroyed. We could see the end of these coastal cities literally in the blink of an eye. And I was recently tempted to move to Houston, but I was down there. I looked into an opportunity. It's one of the reasons I was away from the channel last week. That and the fact that my videos I did make, the Friday video last week and the Monday video last week, produced so many comments that I got my 40-hour work week in just answering comments and emails and follow-ups and doing a little bit of combat on other people's channels as well, dealing with the pushback. But I do not recommend living on the coastline. It's beautiful. I love the ocean. I love to go visit, but those places are under a dire threat right now. And the middle of the country is the safer place to be. But even if you survive this in the middle of the country, it's going to change life in America as we know it. The destruction of our coastal cities would be something that we would never recover from, potentially, not for hundreds of years, honestly. And so it's a knockout punch. Putin has that in place, and he's using it as leverage. So, we're going to have to balance strength with common sense, right? We don't want to go to the edge of brinksmanship. We don't want to call their bluff because they may not be bluffing, right? They're not bluffing that they have the power to destroy our country, and now it's public knowledge. So if you remember my Tsunami sub and Tsunami videos about this secret weapon from months or even years ago, you leave a comment in the section and give me a thumbs up and be like, hey, Sage, you were right. Here it is. It's public knowledge now. I find it interesting it isn't getting a lot of traction in the mainstream media. They're focused on this shutdown, which we'll be talking about later this week. I have an action-packed week scheduled for you. So, today's Monday video is this. On Wednesday, I'm going to give you a sermon that I've been preparing and I'm ready to put out. And then on Friday is a special event, right? I'm having a guest on the channel. This is a person I've known for a long time, but just found out recently that they're into the same kind of coffee talk stuff that I'm into. Giants and the pre-flood world and the Illuminati and all of that stuff that we like to have so much fun speculating about, right? Stuff I find interesting but don't necessarily believe. And one of my closest friends for the past 5 years had this secretly, and I just found out. And not only that, she knows her stuff. She's on par with me. So if you're into the conspiracy theories, if you're into the weird stuff, if you're into our coffee talks, I'm announcing that on Friday, I'm crossing my fingers, right? This person has a busy life, but I believe I've got him locked down to shoot a video with me that I'm going to hopefully be able to put up without even any editing. I may have to edit it, but that's coming your way on Friday. So we got an action-packed week. Stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to support the channel. Leave your comments in the comment section. Give me a thumbs up, right? And also support this channel with your financial donations. My channel does not receive money from advertisement, and the only source that keeps this one-man show up and running is your kind donations. Links in the description below, and we'll see you next time from my cabin down by the creek.